Hello, good morning. I apologize for the delay. I just was having a few moments getting my tech set up. So I was late, and then we had to take a little time to get three-star draw set up. So welcome, everyone. And my guest today obviously is three-star draw. Really quick, it's been a while since I've remembered you all of this one. So Moby is trash in case there was ever any question. And
No
he knows why.
disagreement here.
He knows why. And if you don't know why and you wonder why does Allison hate Moby, publicly Google Natalie Portman and Moby, and that's the public reason. Number two, I have a friend in Los Angeles whose parents live down the street from him. So that's number two. And number three, if anything happens to Moby, I was with you. All right.
That's right.
And
You
my
got
guest,
your alibi.
yeah, right. And my guest today is three-star Drawl, aka Down South 77. AKA Darin. So I'm going to refer to him probably as Darin. So if you don't know that he's Darin, surprise.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Yeah. And it's got the right number of R's. So, and really quick, let's say hello to chat. Good morning, Largo. Lovely to see you. I have not watched your video yet. It's in the queue for me to watch after this. Good morning, Andrew. Yeah, right. It's gonna be a day. We've got Care Bears, GI Joe and a shark, and then if all that gets finished, Skeletor with some toys. So it all feels accurate. Titular heroine, aka CJ. Lovely to see you this morning. And I found you on Blue Sky, and you found me. So we will get to talking when it's time to talk about those things. Good morning, Kenzo. If I can, there we go. Everything StreamYard does its thing. And good morning, Thanos. Oh, no. Lovely to see you. And then let's make sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, good morning, Stanley's Toy Channel. Lovely to see you today. Thank you for popping in. And then there's you. So, all right, let's go. All right, so as mentioned, Darin picked three pictures. We're going to start with the Care Bear because it's basic. I.e., it'll be quick, it'll be easy. And Darin has not colored in a while, so this is a good way for Darin to get sort of warmed up because the other two are a little bit more complicated. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite a while since I've done this. It's I did get the adult coloring book here. I mean it's been probably 10 or 15 years that I kind of dabbled with one, and I wasn't very great with it. So I just, just kind of put it aside, and one of them things, oh, I'll pick that back up, later, and I didn't.
It takes a while to sort of get into a groove with it. I mean, when I was in college, I was going for like art and filmmaking. So when the adult coloring craze hit, I was very like, oh my God, that's so ridiculous. And then I had a friend who gave me a book because she started getting into adult coloring right after her dad died because it was a way for her to distract herself. And it was like those like geometric shapes and mandalas and all that stuff. And I was just kind of like, again, snarty art. I also at the time had tried to sort of make side hustle as an artist in the early 80s, the early 2000s. I was doing art piece. I sold a few pieces. It's not like I was a complete failure. It was just, it's really hard, especially where the internet was then.
Yeah. Hard to promote and navigate that space with it being so new.
Yeah, exactly. It was not at a time where you could go viral that way. Yeah, because it was live journal, so it was like basically people you knew, and and if something went viral, it was because somebody stole your art, made it into a rotten meme, like that poor Irma Gerd girl.
Yeah, that or they animated it and turned it into a Flash GIF.
Yeah, something, and then right before the pandemic, I found a DC Comics coloring book adult coloring book, and I'm like, huh. And there's some George Perez in there, so I'm like, okay, this I can kind of get. Picked it up, dabbled, but didn't think much about it. And then right during the pandemic, when we were all in lockdown, I was going through some of my boxes, and I found a bunch of uncolored vintage strawberry shortcake books that I picked up in the early days of eBay when you could get deals on there. And I got like all three of them for like $5-10, including shipping, which now, good luck. Uncolored, perfect mint condition. And when I got them at that point, it was like 99, 2000. I was like, I'm gonna get like the perfect art supplies, and I'm gonna color this entire all three of these entire books, and put them in a box and forgot about them. And then during the pandemic, I found those, and then I remembered the last coloring book I bought as a kid was that She-Ra Princess of Power Who's Who book. And I never colored in it as a kid. Why? Because I'm like, I want to find the right coloring pencils and the right markers and make this really cool. Never did. So during the pandemic, that's how this all started.
Well, that's good. That was a good kind of, something that you knew you wanted to do, and you kind of locked it away and forgot about it. And that's a perfect time to rediscover that and be like, I'm going to give this a try. I put this away. I didn't get to do it. And now I'm finally going to tinker with it. And, you had most of the stuff for it and had in your head what you wanted to do. I think that was a brilliant time to get started on it.
Yeah, it was a good time to, I think a lot of, I'm going to assume based on when I started seeing you pop up in chats, that some of the reason you're on YouTube was probably some of the pandemic time when we were all sort of realizing, wow, we can hang out on the internet and do things on the internet that we like.
Yeah, I worked. I didn't I was working through the whole thing.
Okay.
But there was still kind of limited some things we couldn't do. Our workload kind of cut back, but I do pest control.
Okay.
So we were still the businesses that were open, a lot of stuff by the health department and thing. So it was weird, but I worked through the whole thing. But as far as downtime, like even when I was off, there was a whole lot less to go out and do.
Right.
That I go out all the time. But so that was kind of when I started getting on and watching things. It was long before I had thought about starting a channel or anything like that. But that was when I started really watching a lot of stuff and discovering some of the channels that I like now. And that's kind of, it snowballs. You find one and it recommends one, and you sort through and weed through, find things that you like and things you don't. So yeah, that was when I really, because I didn't watch YouTube for entertainment then. YouTube was if I needed to find the oil filter on my dad's truck or something, tutorial stuff. And that was when I found out how much stuff was really out there for entertainment.
Yeah. That makes sense. For me, like in the early days, YouTube, like you went and watched music videos, or like I didn't know there was a whole side to it. And then it was for me during sort of, well, in 2011 I had gotten fired from my job because I worked for an evil corporation, and had some downtime. And at the time I had a friend I was writing songs for, and we were thinking about launching sort of the YouTube channel that everyone sort of thinks about, like she was going to sing and we were going to do little comedy sketches. Didn't quite work out. But so I knew that side of it, and I thought about at that point doing it. And then I discovered some of those vlogs, and I was like, well, obviously they're, like somehow they're turning this into money. But then I was just like, I don't want to share that much of my life on the internet. Because, there are people on there talking about like, just stuff that, you don't share. And I was
just like you said, some of the day-to-day stuff and deep, personal stuff that you like talk to your friend about over a bottle of wine or, you know, a
Yeah,
couple beers or something. Like, yeah, that stuff was starting to be everywhere.
happy hour, you know,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the internet with strangers. Um,
Yeah. And I'm like, it took me quite a bit of I don't know, convincing or psyching myself up or whatever to ever do this, because I
yeah.
am kind of I'm kind of an introvert. I always say
Mhm.
I'm a extroverted introvert, because most of the time I just want to keep to myself and you know, be alone, don't tell everybody my business and all that. But every now and then there's this little bit that just like needs to get out. And when it does, it's loud and it's flamboyant. And I wear all of my Kramer camp shirts and, you know, got a
Right.
bunch of crazy hats and go get it out of my system and kind of lock it back away and keep to myself for a while. And that was the part that I had to tap into to
Mm,
start doing YouTube. I'm like, well, I gotta let that side out to play a little more often. And like you were saying, some of the stuff on YouTube in the beginning, some of those people, like that was there every day, and it
yeah.
was way more off the chain than what I was really willing to do.
Yeah, there's there I mean, again, like I'm not one of those people who like, like most of the stuff that happens in my life, I'm happy to share with you, just not necessarily with, everyone on the internet. But
Yeah.
there are just there's still things I've heard people share on, like on a video blog where I'm just like, why? Why would you tell anybody that? Um, but yeah, and for me though, what happened was it was Masters of the like I knew Pixel Dan existed and Dan Larson. I don't think, like I knew they were on YouTube doing stuff. But they're also, like have been doing Toy Tube forever. So, and then what happened was I found Toy Habits, and this was before Toy Sorceress was there, back in the Larry the Larry phase, and it was back when, right when they had announced they were going to do some Princess of Power and Masterverse, and I basically did some well actually in the comments, and Michael, instead of like telling me to go f myself, was like, "Hey, we want to do a Princess of Power episode. Do you want to? You should be on it." And I was just like, "Sure, okay." And I'm like, how do you be on the internet?"
Yeah. Now what?
And then the whole time and it was back when they pre-filmed, they didn't do live. And like the whole time we were filming, I wanted to just throw up. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? Um, but it was fun and I liked it. And I never watched the episode because watching myself is really hard, even now that I've been doing this for all these years. It's so like a weird uncanny valley thing that happens.
Right.
I've just gotten to where I can record a voiceover and listen to it enough times to edit it to not like want to throw up. But and then after that I started planning the channel, and I ended up in Lawrence's chat, and he was like, I'm gonna do this new thing called Thursday with a Friend. You should be the first guest. And I was like, sure, okay. Because I had just done my second guest appearance on Toy Habits on one of their live episodes. Which is a different kind of want to throw up because you can't really control a live
No.
where you can't pre-edit, and then I jumped on there with Lawrence and out talked him, and I'm like, I think I can do this. I can do this.
If you can out talk Lawrence, then you're definitely getting somewhere with it.
Oh yeah, there are times on we're all on Clubhouse where I will purposely try to like fluster him. I know he knows I do that on purpose. Or I'll be like, tell us the part about Brian Flynn again.
I hear you had a USS Flag. Could
Yeah,
you tell us about that?
who is shipwreck? Like, and then
Yeah.
not triggers the wrong word, but it like it does. It sort of it's like pushing the button, and then Lawrence does the Lord's thing. It's really funny.
Yeah, you can really watch the gears start turning as
Yeah,
you're talking sometimes.
yeah.
It's funny.
He's a good
Um
guy though.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I've gotten to know Lawrence pretty well. Uh, and he's helped me out as far as getting on YouTube and getting started and getting over
Yeah,
some of those fears of what we were talking about getting on there and putting yourself out there. Because never in a million years did did I think I would be doing YouTube or friends with people that do it frequently or whatever.
yeah,
Like it just not something that ever even would have occurred to me,
right.
10 years ago or whatever.
I think it's good. I think it's one of the, especially because of sort of lockdown when a lot of us weren't able to connect. I think it's been really good for finding a new way to connect with people and share your interests and not being, because I do know when I was started toy collecting in the mid '90s. Thank you, Power of the Force too. I
Right.
had one or two friends who none of them collected, but at least understood that it was a thing that wasn't weird. But otherwise, like I didn't, you'd see the same two or three guys, like, and then of course, a lot of them would try to hit on me because, like, what are you doing here buying
Yeah, wait,
toys?
there's a girl.
I'm buying toys. Please go away. Um, I'm here for Princess Leia. I'm not here for love. Um,
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
yeah, right. Please continue. Move along. These are not the droids you're looking for. Um, but so and even and then when I moved to Austin, I found a few people that I ran with, and we would do toy hunts together. Um, and then up here, nothing. Like when I moved to
Yeah,
Oregon, it was nothing. I would run into people like at the comic shop or whatever, but it was just just because you all sort of have that interest doesn't mean you all click. And that was
right.
what was cool about whenever I finally sort of got over myself and put the fear aside and like just said yes to toy habits, was realizing there are a lot of people who are just as I know it sounds so rude when I say normal, but like we all sort of have that idea of sort of the toy collector we're afraid of turning into.
Right.
And it's different for each of us. Don't like but I don't mean like what they look like or whatever. Just there's a personality type that each one of us hates that we've seen in toy collecting. That's who we're trying to avoid being. And
Nobody wants to be comic book guy on The Simpsons.
yeah, and I don't even mean like based on how he looks. I just mean that sort of attitude about it. And it's easy to sometimes fall into that with if you don't collect just this way, you're not doing it right. And like
Yeah.
nobody wants it's the gatekeeperness of it. And I feel mostly cool that like the people I run with aren't gatekeepery about it, other than don't be an asshole,
Right.
which is hard because people sometimes are assholes and still acceptable as a person.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. There's a few of them out there that are.
And really quick, I would just I I put it up on screen, but we didn't have quite. You were talking. I don't want to interrupt you. Um, Mint on card. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, right. I say it all the time. And then same time, Toys is here as well. He's at work,
What's
but
up,
he'll be
Shane?
back in and out, which makes sense. And then I know I missed somebody else. Derek Hoover is here. Hello, Derek. Yeah, I think it was Derek that I forgot. I mean, I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of your thought. And then by the time you were done, I forgot. So
Right.
that's
Sorry.
on me.
That's how it goes.
No, 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 no. I'm trying not to be Lawrence. Lawrence would have just really quick, stop what you're saying, Jared. These people are here.
Yeah.
So,
We got to go off on a tangent. Wait.
right. And then you're like, yes, we know you had 17 shipwrecks and one USS flag. Tell us that part about skateboarding again. But
And he will.
oh, he will. Again, we can make fun of him a little bit because he knows that he's a good person and we adore him. So
Yeah,
it's out of love.
despite what he puts out there, he really is a good dude.
I think that's the problem. There are just some people who don't get sort of that, like, yeah, he can be a little blustery sometimes, but he's a good person and it comes from a good place. It's not, and there are some people who do that and it does not come from a good place.
Yes.
And we're not going to name any of those people because that's how they end up in your chat. But
that is true.
But we can all think of at least 2 or 3 people in the toy tube community or whatever it is we're calling it, who are, just complete asshole gatekeepers. So
yeah, there's always some of them out there. That is for sure.
But it's like that. I mean, like, even at your work, there's always like that one person or Helen over in accounting who it's just like,
yeah,
like, why? Helen, your mother should have used birth control.
right.
And I will tell you guys, if you tell your coworker that their mother should have used birth control, you will go to HR and you will get reprimanded and told not to say anything like that again because it's considered creating a hostile work environment. And if you reply, well, Helen shouldn't have looked at me like that, as what started it, they're not going to buy it. So just heads up.
Yeah, that thing that's I've seen on Facebook a bunch of times. It says I told a joke at work so funny they wanted HR to hear it.
And if you're watching right now, Helen, I stand by my statement. Your mother should have used birth control.
I don't even know you, Helen, but I agree with Allison's judgment.
Yeah. There's no way she's doing anything this fun, actually, this morning.
All right.
I'm sure she's under a bridge waiting for billy goats to cross. Typical Sunday for Helen.
Waiting on somebody to drop a baby off for him.
She's like, oh my God, I never thought I would have a baby.
Now I can take you back and turn you into a goblin too.
I've been haunting the dumpster behind that sorority for weeks, hoping somebody would throw a baby away, and no.
I keep waiting for the spring dance.
Right. For a girl who just needs to dance, like she's never danced before.
Just a prom night dumpster baby.
Yeah, that's a phenomena. I'm old, people. And the year I turned 45, which is in the past, so again, I'm old. Some 21-year-old hit on me. And I just looked at him like, how old are you again? And he told me, I'm like, and you were born in what year? In the 90s? And I'm like, were you left in a dumpster? Because if so, you could be my dumpster baby. One, he did not approve that. He was not happy with the joke. And 2, I think also that was when he figured out he had no chance. So
yeah,
word to the wise, abs and muscles do not always help you, gentlemen.
Well, that's good to know then, because I don't have to worry about that.
Sometimes you can look very good and very hunky, but if you're too young, all I can think about is all the babies I never had. So. I have a friend though who dates, she's my age and dates like 23, 24-year-olds. And I'm like, we make fun of old men when they do that. Why are you? And she's just like, yeah, it's different. I'm like, it's really not. At least pick somebody in their 30s. So I don't feel, like, what do you do when he's like, going to high school or whatever? And she's like, hey, it's not that young. I'm just like, okay, sure, Jan, sure.
Yeah, I know one of those guys that he likes to date girls that are in their 20s, and he's my age. Like, dude, like as at certain point that don't matter. Like nobody cares. Like none of the people you're taking a chick like that to impressing people with
The
that
people, yeah,
wore off a long time ago.
the people who are impressed by that tend to not be the type of person you should be trying to impress.
Like, that's great and all, but you don't understand. Like, it might not be worth it in the long run.
There are just a lot of problems. I mean, like, I just, like, and I say this as somebody when I was 16, I was dating 24, 25-year-olds, only one of whom was my PE teacher. But, like, at the same time, I look back now and I'm like, ooh, yikes. There's
Yeah.
a lot
Well,
wrong in there.
you really do garner some knowledge as you age, you know.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
yeah, that's sort of part of it, though. It's like, again, like, this 21, I mean, like, and I was very, like, sort of jokey about it, but, like, I talked, like, I didn't just completely, you're too young, afterwards, after the jokey part, I talked to him, but I was just like, the whole time, it's like, this is a kid. Like, he had a good job. He, way too much time at the gym, in my opinion. Bad work life, workout balance. But there wasn't, I don't know, there's not enough, there wasn't enough life, there wasn't enough shared experience. I made a joke about something from the 90s, and I'm like, oh, you probably weren't even born yet. Like, it was, I don't know, like, for me, like, those little things, like, and obviously I've got the jokes. I need to be able to make a joke and have the person know what the hell I'm joking about.
yeah,
And
that's the hard part.
not have them Wikipedia it. Like, go look at Wikipedia. It'll be so much funnier once you know what I meant.
Yeah, somebody, if you can't converse with them, and I always say it's somebody that can't, not that I'm some great scholar, but somebody that can't keep up in a conversation, inserting wit and, back and forth, isms, just movie quotes and things from movies that are, more
Yeah,
than 25 years old. But somebody that, not saying like I'm some super intelligent person, but somebody that just can't keep up with a conversation and be witty and decipher things.
right.
Like, it just don't even feel like it goes over their head. It's like they didn't even hear it.
Yeah,
That's hard, and that's how the few times that I've tried to date somebody much younger, that's kind of how it's seemed.
yeah. Yeah, that was just, sort of like the closest I came was the guy who, but he was also, well, I mean, he was like almost 30, but he was a film student. So it's like he had been studying film. So he knew sort of all these old movies. And, like, we could talk about, you know, I could talk about movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and later, because I was a big, obviously, I went to, didn't finish any college. I don't have a degree, but, I took film and writing and literature and art. Um, so I studied a lot of old films and know a bunch about old movies. So it was just, and he did too, because he was in film school and he cared about. So, like, that one was a little bit, it was a little bit easier for that one to get a little bit sort of farther into the, like, oh, well, maybe because he did know stuff, but then there was still just, like, yeah, there's just stuff that if you haven't lived through, I don't know how to, there's no way to make that knowledge gap, I think, surmountable as far as, and then maybe stupid people, this is, no offense to stupid people, but maybe for stupid people, this is different because they don't have really deep thoughts. So maybe for them, sort of those shared experiences don't matter the same way that they do. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I can see that.
For everyone who thought we were just going to color today, you obviously have never watched my show before.
Yeah, it can get deep sometimes.
Yeah. When the talk gets deep, the shit. Wait, no, when the talk gets. Yeah, no, when the talk gets cheap, the shit gets deep. There you go.
Yeah.
I knew I remembered that. And then when the talk gets deep, the shit falls away. So I think. I don't know that
Something
they
like
say
that.
that, but that's what I think. That's what I believe, and it's true because I believe it. Oh, yours is coming along really nicely. Excellent.
Thank you.
It's
I have a
really
hard
good.
time closing the gaps, like the blending.
Yeah, blending. And I'm not even doing super great with that today. As spoiler alert, this is the first thing I have colored today, guys, and I usually have to have a warm-up page before. I mean, obviously, the way I film, you would never guess, because you can't see what I don't film. But I usually have a I usually do like a warm-up page when I'm getting everything set up and waiting. Usually
See what
watching.
gets left on the cutting room floor.
Oh yeah, it's usually adult. Like, I mean, I'll quickly. So I've got this book, Joanna Bastard, Small Victories. So I'll pick like this one. I filmed some stuff on Friday, so as I was getting ready, I just started with that. And I'll work on this through the week as I film stuff. So yeah, just and I don't make videos of this stuff. So
that's some pretty crazy, complex stuff in
yeah,
there. That's definitely not a beginner's book.
yeah, it's not at all. But what I do like about that particular book is there's smaller pages, and her books are really complicated. I like them for that reason, but they're usually pages like this size or wider. So it's cool that she has that small one because I can finish one of those in a day if I like there are days where it's like I have long hold times because I have to make outgoing calls for work
Oh yeah.
to insurance companies. So there are some days where I will hold for hours to get through to somebody.
Good
There was
Lord.
a day last month. Was it that last month or was it in recent months? There was a day I had to call United Healthcare and I literally just gave up because nobody was answering the phone that day. I have no idea why.
I can't imagine.
Can't imagine what would be going on over there. But yeah, so on some days when I have long colds, and my brain is not in multitask where I'm like, oh, let me work on all this admin work I have. I will have that sitting here on the desk, and some days I'll just have like 3 pencils, and that's my color scheme for the day between
And
stuff.
you do it all, everything you do, you just do with blending those three.
And yeah, and it's good practice. Like again, that's right. Yeah. Let me find one of like this one is a perfect example. I had like a really light brown, a pink, and a yellow. And what I used on there was those 3 colors. So over here it was like orange, red, turquoise, well, aqua, and then yellow. And then I picked up the whole page through the day. And then some shading and stuff. But it's good practice and it's a good way to and if I'm thinking about something for a particular page I do want to do a video on, I can sometimes try it out in that. And then that way, instead of it taking 17,000 hours for me to film a video because I'm trying to like brainstorm it then, I've worked it through it and had it not go right in that so that I can,
When you do that, sometimes are you able to set up and film that there as you do it? Can you get away with that? And that way you can, if you can use the footage and put music over it or
I
splice
could.
it in.
Right now, no, because I'm still in a temporary situation. Like right now, where this is right here is normally where the printer and a bunch of my day stuff is.
Okay.
And I film everything over there. So when you watch a video and I've got like sort of that fake pine looking table under me, that's over here with all the lights set up. Our contractor should finish next week so that I can start actually setting up my studio/office. And at that point, everything will be able to be set up 24/7 so that I can, right here, will be the computer stuff. Over here will be filming, and I can just sort of move around. Because setup
Yeah.
and takedown takes a lot of time out of production. So
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. See, like when I do, if I do like a figure review video, like this is where I'm sitting here doing this
yeah.
is where I do it. I just scoot over at my table and I scoot over a few feet, and usually have my mat, my review mat. It's my corkboard mat that I use. I just picked that up for this and wipe the table off. But it'd be nice to just have a whole other space that I could just turn around in the chair and scoot the chair over to that space or something. And I just don't have the room or quite really the I don't do enough to necessitate that. If I
Yeah.
was if I was, it all somehow it always comes back to Lawrence. If I was Lawrence and I was doing reviews and then
Hmm.
half a dozen streams or own half a dozen streams every week, something like would probably do something like that. I just be nice to be able to though.
Yeah, but also, I mean, and again, keep this in mind. Right now, Lawrence has that entire setup where he films. That's always set up. So, like,
Right.
he's got that room, like where when he's doing his Monday show, like that's all from one room, and that's where he films the stuff because it's all sort of set up so that he can just, he has to move the camera around, which is, I think he's still using just his phone, maybe.
He is.
Um, and that's, because, but that's also, he's got the space for that, and soon I will have the space for that. It's gonna
I
be
could
cool though.
probably I could set it up, but it would have to be in another room, and that's just
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Well, what's good is once it's done, I'll be able to actually start setting up my collection, which I've been collecting since um, 1977, at least. That's the oldest thing I have that I wanted that wasn't something given to me. When my parents sent away for the Star Wars early bird kit at Christmas time, but
Nice.
so I'll be able to set up like my vintage Death Star and all of my Princess of Power stuff and all the strawberry shortcake and so that'll be cool. And I'm gonna do a full once I can set it up. I'm gonna do a collection tour, like a
Oh
real
yeah,
toy
gotta do that.
tour. Um, so it'll be fun. It'll be nice to be able to get all of that done because there's some stuff that I have not unboxed and set up because I'm like I'm gonna do a video. And also, we're about to move across the state, like 6 hours, and I don't want to unpack it and then repack it. It comes in a box. Thanks, companies.
Yeah, right. Yes, yes. Screw that. If you know you're getting ready to do that, and then you're gonna have to tear it down
Yeah,
and
it was
pack it
just
up. Yeah,
it'll
you
be
have to worry about.
it'll be nice to be able to set everything up and have like the art stuff set up so that it's just always pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, that's the ideal way to do it.
Yeah,
Especially when you do a kind of multifaceted type stuff that
yeah.
you do. That's good idea to do it if you got the room.
I'm very fortunate that Matt is supportive of me and that when we were house hunting and we found this particular house, even though it technically needed a little bit more work than two of the other houses we liked, the work that this one needed was exactly what it would take for it to make it perfect. Um, and we got this house and he had to come ahead and do a bunch of prep. So there was about a month where we were apart. So he could be down here like for contractors for the stuff that needed to happen before people could live here. And so I'm very fortunate he, was invested enough in us that he was willing
Yeah,
to pick the house that needed a little bit more love to make it ideal rather than the one that we could have just packed up, moved in, and been settled within a week or two. And then, but I would, as far as filming and other stuff, work stuff, it still would have been a thing where it's like, all right, work's over, time to shift to this.
yeah,
So, even though I'm technically not doing this to make money, I'm very grateful that he lets me treat it as though I make a lot of money doing this. So
Yeah.
find
Well,
you a partner,
one
people who
day.
support you.
Yeah. And that's why I'm still single.
Hey, it's good to
hard to
have.
find.
It's hard to find, but it's also good to have a standard. I was single for a long time on purpose. There were also the years I was single because I was a crazy bitch. But it's called your 20s, people. You're allowed to be a crazy bitch in your 20s. And at least till 35. Like after 35, you need to clean that shit up. But
I can agree.
Part of cleaning it up though was like it's okay to be single and not date and not have somebody, because maybe part of the reason I'm a mess is because I bounce from relationship to relationship without understanding what's going on in my head. So
yeah.
So that's good. It makes you also, like if you're single on purpose right now and sort of figuring stuff out for yourself, that also means that when you do find somebody, you yourself are going to be a much better catch for them as well, because you've worked on your shit and you're bringing less baggage in. So
yeah, I mean that's the hope anyway. But honestly, I'm not hadn't really been looking too awful hard either.
hey,
So
don't look if you're not. I don't know. I think a lot of times too, we all do ourselves a disservice thinking that that's what is needed to be happy, and it's not always true. So
yeah, well, I've had this like kind of on again, off again thing with somebody for a long time, like
yeah,
over a decade. And you keep some definition of insanity is doing the same thing
right.
over and expecting a different result, and we both know it, and we both keep doing it, and it just never seems to go anywhere. Goes to a certain point and then fizzles out, or a big fight or something, and it might be a year, and
Yeah,
it just somehow always wind up kind of talking again and talking it out and think everything's talked out, and kind of goes back into the same thing. That happens, or that has happened with that person quite a few times, and it just, you get exhausted.
mhm.
It's freaking exhausting.
No, yeah. Like there were a lot of Carls. Like everyone, I have all the jokes about my exes,
Hmm.
but those jokes come from like a lot of really bad relationships
Yeah.
and a lot of going back to the same loser many times, and then finally, you just break out of it. But also, like depending on, and we'll talk around this because I don't want you to have to. We already made the joke earlier about people sharing too much on the internet, so we're not Sally, Jesse, Raphael people. But what I will say is sometimes just because things aren't necessarily going well all the time, if the two of you are basically good people and you're just working through your own stuff, it is possible that at some point you will both work through it enough where it does work. So I'm not saying hold out for something that you may have determined in your head is never going to work, but I'm also saying don't necessarily assume it won't work just because of the on again, off again nature. You both just may need to get your shit together a little bit before you two can line up. So
Yeah, we're getting old.
there's that too. Sometimes when you get old, it's like crazy fades. Sometimes it's not that you get over it, it's just you're so old that like you're like, wait, I am crazy. Never mind, we're good.
We make that joke all the time. Oh, we're just crazy. I was looking at the chat and I see Kenzo was in the shower. So,
Oh, Kenzo was in the shower. I
I
mean,
guess he's out now. There he is.
yeah, right, Kenzo.
Well,
Yeah, we
I
are.
hope we entertained you while you're in the shower,
I
Kenzo.
apologize, but anyone who has been here before knows that sometimes me and my guests just get to talk. More so Southerners and Andrew from Gady's Toys, of course, because we get sassy and messy.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to do the color tube, toy tube version of Sex in the City without the cocktails. Um,
Yeah, right. And the shoes.
Largo, I have not, but I do have a book somebody gave me that has those in it. So at some point, probably probably be something where I just color it and then take pictures and put it on social media. Um, yeah, there's that too. So good point, Largo. I bet Kenzo could, like I bet there are a lot. I mean, okay. So not to so OnlyFans, there are people on OnlyFans you would not think that would have following that do. So I'm just saying, like, never discount that there's an audience for anything and anyone on there. Maybe not a big one. You may not make millions of dollars, but there might be 7 people who you are exactly what they need and they're willing to pay you $5 a month.
That's right.
Right.
Or
Really?
maybe they're really, really wealthy.
Exactly. Like, and they're like, hey, I'll send you more. Here's some free toys, Genzo. More shower content.
Here's some more Mondo for you, Kenzo.
Yeah,
Show me your butt.
right. I'll send you 7 Mondo Tilas for your butt. Kenzo's already like, wait, who is this? Um, so I just finished my Care Bear. I'm really quickly going to put him in solo layout. There we go. I gave him
Nice.
purple ice cream. We're going to pretend it's like Marionberry or something because I had Marionberry and ice cream last week. Super good. And then exit solo layout. No rush to finish yours. Just pick at it as you will until you feel done. Which one do you want to do next? Do you want to do Joe or do you want to do He-Man?
Let's do the Joe one.
Okay, cool.
And I actually think the Joe one will be much harder than the He-Man one.
It
It's
won't be
got the big
harder.
shark.
It'll take longer. There's a difference. It's not really harder. And I probably won't even get done with the water. We've got like an hour and 15 minutes left. I probably won't even get past the water, but that's okay. I will just save it. If I don't finish it, I will save it and I will have you come back at some point because
Yeah.
and if he doesn't, it means that he didn't have a good time and I'm crazy. So don't blame him, blame me. But I'm enjoying hanging out with you, so I'll have you. You definitely are on the list of people to come back and hang out. So
Well, that's good. I'm definitely interested in coming back and doing it again. I haven't looked up for a little while and checked yours out till you just showed it. I was actually going to say, hey, what kind of flavors are you thinking for the ice cream? Because
uh,
I'm getting ready to do mine, but I'm going to go with kind of a pink too because I was thinking, I bet Grumpy Bear likes bubblegum ice cream.
I would say bubblegum or strawberry for sure. My take on Grumpy Bear, and I've been doing a lot of Care Bears this year. Partly 2 reasons. Number one, Lawrence wanted to do Care Bears one of the times he came.
Oh,
And
he
I
gave me
laughed.
some crap. He gave me some crap about when he asked me what we were coloring, and he was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Oh, you can't be taking my Care Bears. I'm the Care Bear. I'm the Care Bear guy." And I said, "Oh, really?" And kind of
Yeah.
tapped my mic arm where I've got Grumpy Bear lashed to it with zip ties.
Yeah,
So
no.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, yeah, no, it's fine. But it was because one Lawrence was like, "Oh, we should color Care Bears," and I had Care Bear coloring books obviously already. I didn't have the vintage Kenner one that I wanted the most. I do now. Um, but and then I found a bunch of my Care Bear minis that I had started picking up a couple
Oh
years
yeah.
back. I was like, "Oh yeah, I wanted to finish this collection." And then I found the Kenner Care Bear coloring book that I wanted in really minty fresh condition. So I bought that. And then I was like, I'm just going to, starting in July, I'm going to do a Care Bear coloring short every Sunday and for a year. And slowly but surely try to finish my Care Bear mini collection.
Yeah,
So,
it's nice. I'm always down for some Care Bears.
cool.
Actually got to get the rest of them. I've got the only ones I've actually bought are I've got Good Luck Bear and of course Grumpy Bear. I've got those
Yeah.
minis. I want a Sleepy Time bear, but I haven't seen him in the newer minis.
I've got like the old. Well, they don't always do Sleepy Time Bear first anymore. I'm not
No.
sure why. I've got the vintage Kenner minis. When I go through those, I will because I will, as I've been building them, some of them I buy in lots. So sometimes will end up with a duplicate. So once I sit down and go through them and start setting them up, if I have any duplicates, I will ping you.
Yeah.
And then send them your way so that, if there are any that you want or need, I'm happy to just not hoard anymore. I mean, it's not technically hoarding. It's just like when your collection is sort of spaced out in boxes like mine has been for the last 25, 30 years. You don't always remember like, oh yeah, one time I picked up this, and then you see a good deal and you're like, well, let me just grab it. And if I already have one or two of those, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
And then you have 17 Power of the Force Princess Leia's, and you're like, I think I just buy this one on purpose because it gives me good memories of when I started collecting toys again.
Right.
And we could never find her.
Do you have a vintage, a carded Leia? Do you have a carded one?
The original 78 one, I do not.
It was just, I saw one the other day and thinking, knowing I was going to be on with you today, and I didn't know if you had one or not. I was wondering.
I've got mint on card. I've got Power of the Force. Every Leia from Power of the Force mint on card. Those are easy. I don't have any of the vintage Kenner stuff mint on card just because those can be spendy.
Oh, yeah.
I have noticed some of those with less than minty fresh cards are going for more reasonable prices as of late. So probably over the next year or so, I'm going to start considering picking up some of just the Leia. But I'm also almost done with my vintage Strawberry Shortcake collection. Almost done with the Kenner Glamour Gal. So, like my goal rolling into 2024 was to start finishing my collections and not start anything new if I could help it.
Right. That's the hard part because they're always coming out with cool stuff. That's the problem with collecting modern stuff is it's like
always.
It's such a good time to be a collector right now for especially modern stuff. Unfortunately, stuff that's new takes on vintage stuff has kind of driven some of that stuff up, but collecting the vintage stuff, it's always up and down, on some of that stuff. It's hard to go back and get some of it.
Well, it's funny because, when in 1995, when Power of the Force 2 started coming out, a bunch of the vintage stuff dropped in value because people didn't want the old stuff. So I picked up items. I didn't actually, nothing mint on card because even then that was like, like $300-400, which in 1995 money was like, that's a lot of money for a toy.
Yeah.
But I do have the original Kenner Princess Leia, the large size doll. I have her mint in, she's not sealed, she's not in an open condition, but I do have her mint in box. So that one's a childhood survivor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I got one for Easter in 1979, and that one got trashed because I played with it constantly. And a few years later, we found one marked down on sale at Howard's department store to like $2. So my mom picked up another one and was like, you're keeping this one mint in the box. You're not going to open it. And I didn't. I opened it in 1996. Because by that point, my childhood one was just gone because, like she was broken. The hair donuts were long gone. And I just wanted to look. And as an adult collector, it's like, let me take her out and look at her and pose her. And
let me gaze upon you with my own eyes.
Exactly. It was very much, I also, it was at a time when I was experimenting with things that expand your mind to the world
Right.
around you, and I just was like, I need to gaze upon the face of the goddess. It was um so there was a lot happening when I finally did that. But yeah, she goes with me everywhere. Like when I move anywhere, she's the first thing that I set up. My first actual night sleeping in the house or the apartment or whatever. And it's been like that for my entire life. And so
That's cool though. You got that's your
it's
thing.
my
That's your tradition, or
yeah.
whatever. It's
And
I'm 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 big on that kind of stuff, like
and then
nostalgia and tradition.
as an adult, the first time I moved out of the house, like into an apartment, she went with me and she was set up. And then I went to Blockbuster. It was before I worked there. And I rented Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Wait Until Dark with Audrey Hepburn, and I had the VHS tape of Gilda Radner's the best of Gilda Radner from Saturday Night Live. So I watched those that first night in the apartment by myself because none of my roommates, because it was for college, none of my roommates were actually there yet. So now, anytime the first night I move in, I watch those. And over the years, I've added Valley of the Dolls, Slumber
Hmm.
Party Massacre, and the first Friday the 13th movie. So
Those are some good ones.
and if you don't do that, and it's true, every time I've moved into a place and not done that, the first night I'm in the house, it has sucked.
Always something crazy happening because you didn't go do your ritual there.
Yeah, I've lived in this big house. So one of our housemates is now on death row. And that was the house that I didn't do all of those rituals. I was like, I'm 36 now. I don't need all of this. Spoiler alert, I needed all of that.
Yeah, I needed every one of them.
Yeah. But he didn't kill me, so like I wasn't one of the victims, so I think it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, just good thing you got back with the program though. You never know.
Oh, that's a good
Hmm.
point. CJ is mentioning Wuzzles. I've come across Wuzzles a couple times, I'm thinking. And yeah, no pistachio. I am not, my mother loved pistachio and she loved it so much that I can't eat it to this day. So, oh no, mint on card. That mint with card, that's awful and awesome all at once.
Awesome.
They're just, oh my gosh. At some point, mint with card is probably going to be joining me on this once he gets his setup. He is thinking about taking the plunge and joining us on ToyTube. So,
All right,
the more the
do it.
merrier.
Do it. All right. Well, I'm gonna call this guy done for now, at
Excellent.
least
I'm gonna
anyway.
put
And
you. Let me put you solo really quick so everyone can get a good look at him.
so I would like to maybe work on him some more and
No,
darken him a little bit and fill that in.
no,
But
that looks really good though. And you said you haven't colored in how many years?
oh, it's probably been at least 15.
That's really good for not coloring in 15 years. You even stayed in the lines, and you were all worried about that. So
For the most part, I got a few over here, but yeah, for the most
I
part,
couldn't see that. And if I can't see it, it doesn't count. So there you go.
that's right. So, wipe these here, and I will worry about getting the tape off of there later.
Yeah, I run into that a lot. I have to at least once a week get the heavy duty like bleach spray to like spray my table down to get all of the tape.
Oh yeah, all the residue.
Yeah, because I also use like this fancy silver sort of tape that isn't necessarily even, it's like it's for like doing art projects, and like it's not meant for actual like taping stuff the way
Right.
it's like, oh, you're doing a pretty card for your family, here's some tape. But I like how I bought it originally because I'm like, I'm going to do every Star Wars page I do with the silver tape. And I'm going to get this color tape for She-Ra and this color tape for and then I was just like, that's a lot.
To keep up and like, oh,
I
I
was
can't
like,
color She-Ra today. I'm out of gold tape.
yeah, exactly. And my brain works that way where if I make those sort of elaborate rules, I will not do videos. And that was why it took me forever to start doing coloring videos. Because I have it's not horrible, but I get eczema. My hand hurts sometimes. So I wouldn't do videos if I couldn't, because like my hand would be all gnarly. And I was like, well, why don't I just get the gloves that I use that help help my wrist from not getting all like carpal tunnel-y. And now I wear them for videos almost all the time, but I also don't always. So
do they help with that? Do they
it
really
helps
help?
a lot. And sometimes there is a brace under it, but not today. But even just using these, I've noticed a difference whenever I was filming videos. And some of this could just be that when I started filming videos, I was coloring for hours at a time and had not been coloring for hours at a time ever in my entire life. So now that it's sort of normal to color for 6 hours in a day when I'm filming or more, it could be partly placebo effect, but hey, if it works, right? Now with the eczema and it looks gross. But I just wasn't filming because it was like my hand looks horrific, or I would break a nail and I'm just like, it's really easy to get acrylics and just put those in place whenever whenever a nail goes away or whatever. And then I'm like, why don't I just give somebody money and just sit in a chair and get luxuriated for the day, whatever the name is. Luxuriated. I made up a word. Hooray.
Luxuriated.
Luxuriated.
Sounds like one of them rap words. Luxuriated.
Basically. Or something. Back in the strategery days of politics.
Yeah.
Get some luxuriated strategery here. Oh my god. But yeah, like I hear it all. I watch a lot of like health and beauty YouTube and TikTok, and there are a lot of people in that space who make up words like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is very good for exfoliation of your skin. Like, don't forget to oxygenate your blood whenever you are working out by using this oxygenation material. The oxygenation of your body is really important.
It's not going to take if you don't oxygenize.
Right. Have you been oxygenated today? If not, that's why you feel like shit. Oh my God, you ate a donut? You have calcified your pineal gland. Oh my God, you're going to die. Quickly, you need to buy this charcoal scrub that I'm selling for $70 in my store.
Yeah, it will help with that.
Right?
It will help oxygenate your skin.
It's all natural, made with chemicals I can't pronounce, but they're natural, unlike the stuff and other stuff that's the same thing, but not really, because it's not been mineralized by a Scandinavian forest fairy.
Doesn't have any of the green, don't have any green muscle extract.
If your face scrub isn't made with screech owl blood, it will not work. But not the screech owl blood you get at Walmart's. That's made from real owls, and that's inhumane. This is synthetic screech owl blood made from the moonstone on the 7th day of the 7th year of the 7th Valentine Day that once happened 7 years ago. It's the only way to ethically use screech owl blood. And my company owns the patent on the procedure.
Yeah, that's right. You can only get it here. Only get the synthetic owl blood right here.
You want to look like me? Use the Screech Owl blood. It's not Botox, I promise. Why is my lip leaking? Screech Owl blood. It's not silicone, I promise.
Not at all.
If you think so, you're a hater. Anyway.
This sounds like the kind of stuff me and Pop Blender do.
I used to be one of those people though. I used to be like, oh my god, you had high fructose corn syrup, you're gonna die. And then I actually went to a real nutritionist, science-based, and discovered I'm probably not gonna die from every so often having something with high fructose corn syrup. I might die if everything is loaded with it, because that's a lot of sugar.
Stuff's in everything too.
Yeah, it is, because it's a cheap filler that you can put in food to make it go faster, go farther, and be cheaper. So it's not coming from like, oh, the companies are trying to kill us. It's coming from the companies want to sell us products cheaply and quickly and make as much money as they can, which is two different mindsets. Like,
oh, for sure.
But you're also it's not gonna kill you if you have a little high fructose corn syrup. It's gonna kill you if you have too much high fructose corn syrup. But on the flip side, if you drink too much water, you can kill yourself. So it's like you just everything in a reasonable dose, moderation, and you'll be good. Or so my nutritionist says, but since she has a degree in it, I'm gonna trust her more than some bitch on the internet who's trying to sell me a charcoal smoothie wrap or whatever.
This wrap's made out of charcoal and Screech Owl.
Yeah, right. That's what kills me though. Whenever these people are like, "Oh, all this food, these companies are trying to kill you." Here's a link to the product I'm selling, and it's like, so we don't trust them when they're trying to sell us something, but we should trust you because you're in the grocery store in hot pants and a tank top screaming about poison in food. Okay, yeah, that.
Yeah, that always got me about all of those types of products, especially, I mean, any products really, but that stuff, like, all you really do is tell me what's wrong with the other one, supposedly. You don't really tell me why yours is any better. Like, sure, okay, you might use, Screech Owl blood. Okay,
Right.
well, why is Screech Owl blood so much better than Badger blood?
It's organic. The badgers aren't organic. They eat trash. I mean, like, and you try to have the reasonable logic with some of these people, and they'll have an answer, but it's equally insane if you don't buy in, right?
Yeah.
But I always distrust anyone who's like, well, this is bad, and mine is the only good one, especially when it comes to like healthcare and like supplements and stuff, especially because most of that not even placebo effect, it's just everyone's body is different, so not everyone's going to react the same way. It's like I've got people who go to a chiropractor and say it helps, and then people who go and they don't, and it's like that doesn't mean it doesn't work, it just means it's not going to work for everyone. And I'm pretty much of that mind. It's the same way where it's like, like if I overeat a certain food, I'm usually okay, but if I overeat something else, it gives me horrible gastric issues.
Right.
But you could probably eat that food and be fine. It's like I'm allergic.
Bodies are different.
I'm allergic to soy. So once a year I eat edamame knowing I'm going to pay the price.
Right.
Other people are fine with it. It doesn't mean like soy is bad for everyone. It's just not great for me. So I don't know. It's weird, for me, like that's the worst part of social media is watching all of the manipulation that happens and it's always to sell something. It's never anybody having a right. Oh, I love you, CJ. You're the best. Right. Yeah, do it. let's see it. Let's make it happen. But I don't know. It's never like I distrust anyone who like the end of their video is like, and by the way, go buy this thing I buy that's gonna help you with that. It's like it's just a different way of making a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It could be that I'm old and I don't fall for it as quickly. It's just like, what are you selling? Come on, snake oil is snake oil, regardless of the abs. Again, it's always dudes with abs and like and this is a bias, and anyone who wants to call me on it, it's fine. But anytime some woman who's clearly had filler and breast implants jumps on a video and is like, this is the only way to enjoy natural, healthy beauty, I'm just like, well, what's in your face?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I don't
that always
begrudge
gets
anyone.
me too.
I don't begrudge it. I have a friend who swears by the fillers, but you know what that she does not do? She doesn't tell me I need to get filler. Or she doesn't sit around and tell me the only way to be naturally beautiful is this product I'm trying to sell you.
Yeah, that always gets me about those things too. Just what you said, like, oh, we're the only ones that are using this all natural, whatever, and this is all from the earth. And if you do this, it won't let you do that, or it'll stop
Yeah.
this from happening. And you're sitting there talking to me with your Botox and your silicone and your facelift, and like,
Or
I bet
some
you wish
gym,
you was using that 20 years ago.
yeah, or some gym dude who's like, sir, we could all look like that if we could all spend 8 to 12 hours at the gym all day. Like, you don't have any secret other than like your full-time job is selling us this idea online. And again, I don't begrudge anyone who like has found a way to make money doing something they love, but at least be freaking honest that you, unless if you're going to be my personal trainer, I'm not going to look like that unless I also spend 8 hours
Yeah,
like in the gym doing the thing. My
yeah. I mean,
former
you
personal
can
trainer.
advise me all you want, but if I'm not able to physically go there and lift the required amount of weights to go with this supplement, then guess
Yeah,
what? It's not going to have the same effect.
my former personal trainer had somebody fire him like, you have too much of a dad bod. And he was like, that's because I have a full-time job. He's like, I come here and train as a side hustle. I don't spend 8 hours. He's like, this is what you can realistically obtain with your body. Well, for dudes. But I liked his outlook, so that's why I had picked him, because he was like, this is what you can realistically achieve with your body if you mostly like eat healthy. He's like, caving and having pizza once or twice a week is not going to kill you. What's going to kill you is having it every day, constantly. And he's like, I have a full-time job. He's like, I hit the gym 4 times a week for 2 hours each time. He's like, this is what I can achieve in that time. He's like, you're probably not going to even be able to come to the gym that much.
Yeah.
He's like, that's okay.
Well,
He's like, come when you can. He's like, give me. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
What
I
were you
mean,
gonna
he
say?
told him what the realistic expectations he's gonna have with his capabilities of being able to get there and
Yeah.
do it.
That's the dude I want to give my money to. The one who's honest with me and not trying to make. And I'm recovering from several eating disorders, so it's like I have to be really careful with trainers, because a lot of them will try to, like a lot of them are recommending eating disorders as the way to get healthy, and it's like, some people can't. Yeah, and I had one of them tell me like, well, if I tell you just to eat broccoli and chicken and nothing else, it's because it's healthy. That's different. As long as you're eating enough. I'm like, it's not because it's disordered eating. You're telling me that I can only eat like these 3 things and fucking protein powder. That's not, that's
Yeah.
not going to work with somebody with an eating disorder, people. But
Yeah.
he's like, oh, sorry.
I'd say I've always like that whole kind of industry like that. I've always kind of looked at it with a side eye because of
No,
stuff like that.
it's just, and I get, like there are people who are very disciplined and they do eat that. when they're training. But you know, a lot of the gym dudes that and gym ladies that I respect, yeah, they eat like that when they're in a specific mode of their training, but otherwise they eat pretty normal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes me feel bad for people when it's like they, you know, are starving themselves to obtain a body that's not obtainable unless you're spending 8 to 12 hours at a gym every day. Eat your
Yeah.
food, people.
Just you know, and you know, people that do that, put in the work and all that, you know, good for them. I just be realistic, you know. Sit here and talk like I ain't seen the inside of a gym in forever, but that's also because I don't want to go to a gym.
Yeah,
Nothing against
right.
people that do.
Yeah, it's
I
been
just
about a
have
year
some.
since I haven't been in about a year just because who has I don't have time. Um, and you know, we don't have one actually close to us now. I've got some equipment that once the remodel is done, I'll be able to set up my equipment. But and it'll be just enough to feel like I'm healthy.
Right.
Which is
That's
my
what
goal.
I've got weights. I need to actually set them back up downstairs. I had to move everything around when I had to accommodate stuff from that I had inherited when some family members passed away and had to put that stuff somewhere. And yeah, that was the thing that didn't get used as much as it should. So it kind of got, pushed over in the corner. And now I think it's got suitcases sitting on top of it.
Yeah, that happens. And Tony's Fig is letting us know that we're doing a great job. Nice camera views as well.
What's up, Tony? What's going on, Hermano?
Hello, Cassie's Kitchen. At some point, yeah, I've got some My Little Pony stuff that will happen. Not quite sure when, because I have so much of it. So, are they in? What boat are they in here?
This is the devilfish.
Okay, so let
It
me.
is basically orange, like the
Okay,
mainframe is the dude that's shooting at the shark on the left,
yeah.
and like that whole part of it, the frame of the boat is
Okay, it's
orange.
orange. Cool. I was almost about to like. Is that the the maroon cobra one that my brother had? And I don't know why I'm blanking on the name.
The
Is it
moray,
a hydrofoil?
hydrofoil,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one. I'm
Uh,
blanking on the name because yeah. All right, I will. I'm gonna be that annoying person that Google's right now what the devilfish looks like
That's all
because I
right.
have so many oranges that I want to make sure I pick the closest one.
Well, I think the set of pencils that I have has two, so it's going to be one of the
Yeah,
two.
yeah, that's a good problem to have. Quite honestly, sometimes I will say that having all of these pencils, sometimes I end up making things a lot more difficult than they need to be. But
Yeah, and I'm similar to how you've talked about things. Like I would be so I'd sit here and stare at it for 30 minutes going,
yeah,
which one? I know I've got the right color for this. Which one is it? Oh no,
yeah,
that's not it. Let me go reprint this. That would be
yeah.
me.
That is one of the ways of doing all because I do obviously a lot of shorts. But
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons the shorts were really helpful because especially last year when I was doing a short every day for a year, you know, you just don't have time for anything to take more than 3 hours, and you can't afford to lose time to like, what color do I use?
Yeah.
And so I got really good at thinking really quickly or just going for like wrong but strong.
All
And
right.
but at the same time, there are still times. I mean, we're sort of chilling here talking, so I can take a little bit more time with it. Like,
All
you know,
right.
be a little bit more mindful of and I'm gonna, like I'm laying down this darker orange. I'm gonna go in with the brighter orange. I'm gonna get a little fancier with it, but sometimes it's okay.
I know when I was a kid, when I colored, I used to like to actually do it and actually try to color and make it look good, but I would
Hmm.
a lot of times intentionally pick different colors
Yeah.
than, whatever the subject was. I wonder what, mainframe is mostly gray. I wonder what mainframe would look like in, couple different kinds of purple, you know, like
That
their
would be
fun
pretty cool.
school.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did when I was doing all the research for um the Toy Geeks podcast with Jay from Geek Dad Life and Dan Larson. I did like 1982 to 1989 GI Joe. Ugh, that was a long. So there's so many toys. But I was
Yes.
doing all of the research and just looking at all of the international repaints, and I was just like, those are really cool. Like I knew that that was a thing because when the Glinda thing hit, I was like, where does she come from?
Yeah.
And then Ken from Toy Connections was like, well, actually, but it was a time where I needed somebody to
Actually,
actually me.
yeah.
So I knew about sort of Brazil having a bunch of sort of repaint things, but then I started digging in and just like it was really common in
Yeah,
the
there's a lot.
80s. Oh yeah, no, continue.
I would just say there's a lot. I mean, there was India, Argentina. There was, I mean, stuff that went on the companies that bought the molds later, but stuff that was going on, at the time, like in the 80s. And I didn't know when I was a kid. I mean, I knew they had it in other countries, and later I learned about, Action Man and
Yeah,
Action Force and all that stuff. But when, like you mentioned Glinda, when the Glinda with the dragonfly, I was like, well, I've heard that, but I don't know who she is. And then I'm
yeah,
like, oh, she was Commandos Heroicos from
yeah.
Argentina. Okay, so she's part of that line. That's interesting. And I knew about that stuff, but I didn't know about it when I was a kid.
Yeah, what's really cool is I bought a Delta 17 figure from Ken, and he threw in the stalker from that line that Glenda comes from because he had an extra one. And
Oh,
it's just
nice.
really cool because I collect primarily my primary toy line that I collect that's modern is Motu Origins, which I don't know if that technically counts as collecting a modern toy line, but it's the only thing right now I'm all in on.
Yeah.
And and Motu, of course, is just huge about repaints. And but it's really cool just this with GI Joe seeing like just the different paint job on that stalker. He does look like a completely different character. And even though as a kid I probably would have caught, oh, this is just a repaint of Stalker, I don't think I would have been mad about it because he's cool. Like, I don't know, that was one of the things that sort of like made me roll my eyes um, at modern toy collectors was whenever the Dragonfly was announced and there were people like losing their mind. Why Glenda? It's like
Oh, yeah.
perfect for it. Like she's a super deep cut. If you don't get her, your collection is not going to be lacking like it would be if it was like a main character. And it's all it is a repaint, but at the same time, it's a really cool repaint. It got us a vintage Scarlet, which is also cool. But at the same time, like it's in my opinion, that's like the perfect figure for a like crowdfund because if you don't get it, your collection's not you're not missing like a pivotal important character or
Right.
a repaint of your favorite character where it's like if you really like Tiger Force, you would be pissed if like Tiger Force Scarlet was dropped on the Dragonfly and you're not going to get the Dragonfly. But Glinda, on the other hand, I don't know. It just was weird to me that like, and that's exactly what most people say they want in crowdfunds. Like if they include characters, a cool character that is cool to have, but if you don't get it, your collection doesn't. You don't feel like you're missing a character unless you're like every character must be here.
Yeah, I
So,
mean it's a great way to offer a character like that, and there's going to be the people out there who had been wanting Glinda, and wish they'd ever make Glinda. They're never going to do it, and
yeah,
then they wind up doing it with the dragonfly, and oh, I'm not going to order the dragonfly. Well, okay, you don't have to. There will be plenty
yeah,
of loose Glindas, loose
yeah,
Glindas, um, available. Sure, it's going to be a little bit more because it's a premium figure that came with that set,
yeah,
but do you want to spend a little bit more and get that figure that you've always wanted, or do you want to back the
yeah,
whole dragonfly? But they are making the figure, and you got to look at it also from Hasbro's point of view with that. Do they make an entire Glinda figure and put out for the retail market when probably 90% of the retail market doesn't know who Glinda is, don't
right.
care, and isn't going to buy it? Or offer it that way as an exclusive and let the people that really want it sort it out.
For a lot of people, it's just going to look like a cheap repaint of Scarlet, and they're going to be like, "But I just want Scarlet." So,
Yeah,
like,
and we got her. We had Scarlet
yeah,
before Glenda ever even got here.
yeah. So I don't know. It just was weird to me. The one that I'm hoping Hasbro does at some point is Canary Anne from Play School India, the yellow,
Yeah,
basically yellow Lady J. But that was such a cool figure. Like,
yeah, that was another one that I didn't know was a thing until much later. But she has a following too, kind of like Glenda and Coral. Coral was another one that everybody really wanted. Again, just a Scarlet repaint, but she was one of the Action Force figures, and a lot of people really wanted that figure. And of course,
yeah,
they, you know, did her in a 2-pack. And again, that was smart on their part
yeah,
because they put it in that 2-pack with Falcon, and everybody wanted that Falcon for the better head sculpt.
yeah.
So if you don't care about Coral, well, guess what? You're gonna have to buy her if you want that better looking Falcon head.
Well, there are enough people who do, or who want just one of every character, even if it's a repaint, but might not want a second Falcon, who will happily buy that Coral from you on eBay.
Yeah,
And so,
Coral was the better of figure of those two anyway.
yeah, yeah. I haven't. I mean, like, she's not. It's overwhelmingly expensive on eBay, so I
No,
might end up picking one up at some point for the shelf. And that's going to be the fun part about once I do start getting everything unpacked and set up. The sort of like, oh, I now need this to fill out this.
yeah,
So we'll see. I probably will grab one just because my classified. I cherry pick my favorite characters and then the ladies,
yeah.
and just so that everyone knows, one of my favorites is Crystal Ball. So I'm excited about Crystal Ball.
How do you think that figure's looking so far from what we've seen of it with all the leaks?
Okay, so here's well, my feelings are twofold. Number one, as far as like the update, like you want to update them because people hate Crystal Ball.
Yeah,
So to me, the update that if it is definitely him that we've seen in those leaks. I think he looks pretty cool, and I think it's a cool update. That stays in line with sort of what Crystal Ball should look like.
yeah,
Like it's really recognizably that's Crystal Ball with the updated look. As somebody who loved the original Crystal Ball, no matter how cheesy he was or what wasn't, I am sort of bummed that we're not getting a vintage look for him right away. But I have faith that we will see a vintagey, we're inline vintage Crystal Ball at some point. And so, and
I can't
partly,
imagine
like
one.
I started reading Stephen King in 1984 because of Firestarter. and Stephen King and his son Owen Hill, who is now a writer, Owen King at the time, um,
He was about
basically,
12.
yeah, he was like
And
12. Loved GI Joe, and they created Crystal Ball. Or I mean, like they wrote the story for him, and I don't know if they actually designed him or if he was designed based on the sort of file card, or like that side of it is not, and anything I've read isn't super specific, sort of, like he just wrote the file card or if he actually helped design it or whatever it was. But because of that, that was part of why I liked Crystal Ball as a kid, because you know
well, that and the obvious Vincent Price head
yeah,
sculpt.
yeah, he just, like I was at that point, I was moving out of toys and into horror stuff, so it's like he was like the perfect, it's like my play patterns were starting to change, and I
Yeah.
I will not pretend that I didn't sometimes play Friday the 13th with my He-Man and She-Ra and GI Joes, and as messed up as that is. Skeletor made a great Jason Voorhees. So Crystal Ball was kind of perfect because he was sort of horror. I could do horror stories that were GI Joe based. Anyway, yeah, I was a weird kid. It's okay. Like you guys didn't know that.
Crystal Ball was one of those that I really liked the idea of, and then when I
Yeah,
got him, like I'm like, what do I really do with this guy? Because I mean, I was already into horror stuff
yeah,
then too, and I was like, oh, this dude's like he looks like Vincent Price, and
yeah,
he's a mystic and whatnot, and then you get him, and you're like, well, so he's got this little lenticular shield,
yeah,
and he's going to try to hypnotize Roadblock's 50 caliber, like,
yeah. Right.
so he kind of fell by the wayside for me, and I always called the holy trinity of the zany kind of dumb characters was
Yeah,
Crystal Ball and Big Boa and Raptor.
and those were my three favorite. Like
Yeah,
those were my. I was always sad we didn't get more Cobra Law as a kid.
even then, they're like they just don't. They're cool, but they just
Yeah,
don't fit. They don't really feel GI Joe. They feel Motu or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. No, I definitely get. I don't. Whenever people like have sort of that, sort of reaction, like I understand 100%. Like they don't feel like they belong. But
Yeah,
I'm also sort of that, like, I had Scarlet, I had the Baroness, I had Lady J, um, Zorana, but I didn't get any, I didn't get my cover girl until after we got our flag, because then I was like, wait, who's cover girl? And I found
oh
her
yeah.
at like Kroger in the toy department for $12.99, so I had to save up a couple weeks to buy that. But that was my first, like they bought us the flag. My parents bought the flag because it was marked down to like $70 because the Toys Plus by us was going out of business.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, so that's the only reason and it wasn't anyone's birthday or Christmas. It was just like it was going out of business. My dad was making good money, and my mom was like, "Wow, that's a really good price." And I just said, "Wow, look, mom, it's barely $80. It's usually like 130 here." And
Yeah.
my mom was like, "Okay." And then, of course, we had to go drive an hour to where we lived in the bayou and get the old station wagon on its last legs so that we could get the flag home. And it took up we still were sharing, my brother and I still shared a bedroom at that point. It took up the entire, like you had to creep around the flag to get into your bed. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I never had it. I didn't have it. I didn't even I've still only seen one in person. Like, I mean, I've seen it a few times now because the toy store that I go to's got one
yeah,
on display, but I was an adult before I ever
Yeah.
saw one in person.
Yeah, that's the only reason we had it was because it was on sale and my mother was a shop to drop 80s shopaholic person, and she's like, oh my god, that's a really good deal. We need to do that. The kids need that.
Yeah.
And there was that whole thing like in the 80s where it's like the more you bought your kids, the better parent. Everyone thought you were.
Oh yeah.
Fucking boomers. But we were very lucky as kids because we had boomer parents who wanted to prove what good parents they were by spending too much money on toys for us. So
Yeah, you're right about that. And mine, I got like I had a lot of Joe stuff. Like that was really about the only Joe thing that I really wanted that I
yeah,
never did get. Like we kind of had it lucky, but a lot of mine, me and my cousin have talked about this before for both of us. Like both of our parents were divorced, and a lot of ours came from, I think, from guilt.
yeah, that happens. They're
But
like,
it
oh
worked
my
out
god.
for us.
Yeah, I had a friend who had his parents were divorced. He had way better toys than we did. But his dad made good money, and then his mom made good money, and his stepdad made even better money. So it was always this thing where it's like the stepdad and the mom were trying to prove like we love you more than,
Yeah.
and the dad had custody because I don't remember why, but it was his dad was an asshole. If I remember correctly, his grandmother, the dad's mom, had a friend who was a judge, so it always seemed really shifty.
Yeah.
And there are parts of the South where it's like, this where you live. There are sometimes people who have those connections where it's like stuff that shouldn't happen happens in their favor.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but
The good old boy system.
he had everything. Like he had like the D&D, the
Oh
tomb,
yeah.
that dungeon place. Like the only place that we didn't have as a kid that I desperately truly wanted. He had that. He had all of the LJN dungeons. He had everything. He had everything. He's the only kid who had more stuff than we did,
Yeah,
and
he had
didn't
it.
appreciate any of what he had. So
Yeah. That's usually the way. Like I got a dude that I've known since like elementary school, and I mean, we were friends then. We weren't ever like good, like super good friends, but I
yeah,
mean, we were always friends, always acquainted. And he had a flag, and I had forgotten that he had it when we were kids. And because I mean, I didn't ever go over his house, so
yeah.
I didn't see it. And I forgot that he had it. And I saw him run into him years later, and we actually used to hang out at the same pool hall, shoot pool. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, you remember?" Like, somehow talking about GI Joe, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you remember? I got that flag, I got that aircraft carrier." I'm like, "Oh man, I forgot that you had that." I'm like, "Well, I collect that stuff now as an adult." And he was like, "Oh really?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay." What are you doing with it? You still got it? He said,
Huh?
"Yeah." Like, it's just sitting in my mom's basement.
Oh my
I was like,
god.
"Oh, well, man, and he lives like 5 minutes from me, from where I
Yeah.
actually live, where my house is now." And it's like, "Well, man, I'll buy it from you if you're interested and want to sell it." And nah, I'm good. He
Oh my
will not sell it to me. He just, every time I see him, which isn't that often, but every
yeah.
time I see him, he just kind of taunts me with it. But
Well,
he had it, so I
I've
guess
got
it's a
people in
few
that
miles
neighbor.
up the road.
I've got people in that part of Tennessee. We'll talk offline and see what we can do. He's got two legs at work, right?
Far as I know.
Hmm.
Funny enough, he actually went in the Navy and got discharged because he fell off some kind of platform and broke both his arms, but his legs are fine.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll talk offline where there's less evidence, but we'll see what we
Yeah,
can do about getting you that
sounds good.
flag.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah.
I don't have anything I can use for a flesh tone color.
Do you have yellow and orange? Do you have a pink?
I don't have a like that's the only pink. I've got like pink, and I've got purple. It's more and
Okay.
it's more like a magenta.
Okay, so but you have a pink. No, you don't have a pink. You've
No,
got a
just that one.
okay. So with so go in real light with yellow, like super
Okay.
light, and then go in a little bit darker but still light with the orange, but don't color all over. Just use the orange to sort of go over like the cheekbones where the nose should be. And then if you go in with white after that, it'll blend it out.
Okay.
And that should give you close, as long as you don't go too dark with the yellow.
I'll do
And then
one.
it looks almost like you're doing an effect rather than that you didn't have a flush tone.
Yeah, I was just looking at that because that's what I was actually wanting to do, like pink with the ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't. This isn't quite as pinkish as I would like. I got 2 oranges and like 4 yellows, but there's
That's
no
always
actual pink with
ridiculous.
the set.
They probably have a supplemental set that they call like Skin Tones of the World or something. Crayola does that with their basic pencil set. Like it's sort of lacking as far as browns and peaches and sort of the yellows you need to create certain skin tones. And then they have a whole other set that you can buy for like $6 that has all of it.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it's workable. And if you go back and look at a lot of the like storybooks and sort of even not as much comic books, but a lot of the sort of storybooks that we had as kids for like G.I. Joe and stuff, if you look really close at the skin tones, it's often just reds and oranges sort of blended out with like lighter colors.
Mm-hmm.
And then sort of the whole of it all sort of creates that skin tone look.
Yeah, I can see the mixing the 2 colors and
Yeah.
blending a couple colors together part is that's where I'm not so great at. If I had one color for everything I wanted to do, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I don't guess it works that
Yeah.
way very
The
often,
blend,
does it?
yeah. Not unless like even with all the sets I have, I still end up sometimes having to like blend and create. And so there's no one set that's going to give you everything. There are a couple sets that the spendier sets where it's like you have enough that you can do, even if you have to sort of mix stuff. But as far as blending too, that's gonna, not all pencil sets will blend well depending on how much wax they have or how much oil they have, or if they're more of a lead-based pencil.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss, but again, that's why my goal when I have people on here is just have fun with it, do the best you can. Nobody is expecting you to nobody is expecting a Picasso. Well, Picasso is actually a bad because his is all like sort of messy and stuff. So nobody is
All over the
expecting a
place.
Da Vinci out of you. There we go. We'll go with
There
Da
you
Vinci.
go. Yeah, that'd probably Da Vinci'd probably be a little more on point and probably
As long
wouldn't
as it's not
wind
a
up being
Pollock.
more Picasso.
Right? As long as it's not Pollock, you're good.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's for the after party. That's the celebration.
Yeah, I had
It's a celebration.
one of my exes who was an artist um would always like try to like I'll never be this or that, and I didn't quite like it was not a good relationship, obviously. And he ate something that disagreed with him, and had issues in the bathroom, and did not properly clean up afterwards. When they came out, I'm like, well, you definitely could be a Pollock. And he did not appreciate me.
Yeah, let's say that one probably didn't go over.
Yeah,
too
that
well.
one, that didn't fly as well as his attempt at Pollock did. So but yeah, so just don't do a Pollock, you'll be fine. No, your camera looks really good. So again, like, you haven't done this in 15 years. It takes, like, I do this almost every day now for like 3 years. So
All right.
and it takes a while to get, and even I have, like I said, if I don't do a proper warm-up, it's a little all over the place, which is my own fault for, not planning my morning better.
Well, you had to get your cat situated.
How to get those cat? Oh my God, they are. Well, it's funny because before we were in the tiny apartment, right? It was us and 3 cats. They were a lot better behaved, but they now have places to like run and fly, and we have like a long hallway, and it's like the kitten. Well, he's almost 2 now, but he's still tiny. He was the runt of the litter, so he'll always kind of be like a little cat. But he will just start running, like in the kitchen, and it's like L-shaped from the kitchen through the living room down the hall to where my office is. And I'll just hear him like run down the hall and like land in here and crash into stuff, and then turn around and do it all over again. And he has these little
room to have the zoomies.
Yeah, exactly, which is good. Like our oldest cat, who Matt had before we hooked up the first time, he's, like, this cat's almost 10 years old now. And he was chunky. Like, we would take him to the vet, and they'd be like, "This cat needs to lose like 6 pounds." He's lost so much weight because he runs. Like, he does not run like the kitten does, but there are nights where I hear like where he's just running and rolling around and playing. And so it's been, we've got space now. It's, like, people often try to say like cats don't need space and room the way dogs do, and it's like, I disagree. I think cats adapt better to smaller spaces, but I think cats need just as much space as sort of a dog does for, most of their day.
Yeah, they definitely enjoy having it when they do, because mine, I had 2, and that's kind of how they were. They would get the zoomies here and go flying around and turning the corners and go skidding around the corners.
Yeah, it's nice to see them happy, like, and have room, and just, and also not always be on top of each other.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I miss having cats. I had 2 brothers and adopted them together from the shelter, and they just got old. One of them made it a little longer than the other one did, but they just got old. What happens?
Now that we have once the remodel is done, we'll have even more space. So I'm hoping the cat distribution center has us on their list, because we have a couple of cats out that are outdoor kitties that aren't ours, but come here, and we've been leaving treats out for them in the hopes that come springtime, the one lady cat who's like all fluffy and pretty and prissy will show up with like a couple kittens and be like, "All right, you guys stay here. This is your house now." I had a
so
dream.
You actually want stray cats?
I had a dream where like she left a couple kittens, and we named them Tabitha and Tobias. So I'm hopeful that come fall, Tabitha and Tobias show up one morning.
Maybe it will be prophetic, and you'll will it into existence.
I mean, we do. We have room now for cats, so I'm okay with. Matt was like, "What are you gonna do if I die before you?" And I'm like, "Crazy cat lady.
You're gonna be the cat lady, and it is my destiny."
Right? There will be cats and art, and me jumping on the internet and being a bitch to people who suck. Like, You won't be here, but if you were, that would then be the perfect life. Cats and
Get a
cats,
charmed
art,
life.
toy collection, tearing into assholes on the internet. Like, what more can you want out of life? So, yeah, but I'm hopeful Tabitha and Tobias do become reality because it was just, just to get names like that so specifically in a dream and like, again, not everyone, like I have a very weird belief system, people, but in my world, in my belief system, that 100% could be a dream of the future. So,
Yep. All right, it may be.
at least I'm not telling people to, send me all their money and kill their families. So,
yeah. For or trying to
like,
get screech owl juice.
yeah, right. I need you to send me all of your screech owl blood. And if your family disagrees, throw them in the well with baby Jessica.
She's in her 30s now.
I know that they did an interview with her, and I was like, I feel so old.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I probably saw some of that same interview. I remember watching
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure it was the same one. I will say though, it's funny to think like how something like that would just impact your life forever.
Yeah, it's like something you never forget that when that was going on.
Baby Jessica in the well. I just remember being upset because they kept preempting stuff I wanted to watch. And
Yeah,
I'm just like, if she's not out of the well, why does it need to still be on?
yeah. Let
Interrupt
us
whenever
know.
something happens. I don't care if she's stuck in the well anymore, guys. I was a very jaded, like 8-year-old.
Yeah, I'm missing Night Court.
Exactly. And that was when it was really good. That was a good time for Night Court.
I used to love that show.
I will say though, somebody said the other day said this the other day on like I don't know if it was just a comment or if it was an actual video or whatever. But it hit, and somebody was like, "Well, if you ever want to know why Generation X were also messed up, remember this: we all stopped classes for the day to watch Challenger, and then we had to go back and pretend like everything was normal and just do our reading lessons."
Like we didn't just watch it below the
Yeah, like,
pieces.
oh, well, that's terrible. Okay, all right. Anyway, get out your school books. Let's go
Yeah.
back to spelling.
All right. Today we're gonna discuss gravity.
Right? Your spelling word today is achievement. Challenger did not have the achievement it wanted today. And I'd never thought about that until I saw it. But it's like, yeah, we just sort of like everyone just went on with their day. Like, wow, that's horrible. There were people on there. We all wrote letters to that teacher. Like, I don't know if they
Yeah.
made you do that at your school, but they were like, write Krista McAuliffe a letter to tell her how much what she's doing means to you.
I don't remember if we did the letters or not. I don't think we did. I
Well,
don't think we did the letters.
they made us pour our hearts out to her and then watch her have the worst day at work you will ever have. And and then we had to do spelling and reading
Yeah.
and go home and like my mom was like, "Oh wow, that was something. Did you see that at school?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, anyway, I made hamburger and mac and cheese for dinner. He-Man's on.
Okay.
Let me watch G.I. Joe. Oh my God, Cobra's blowing up stuff. Okay, this is fine. We're all fine. We're all fine here."
It's okay.
This is fine.
Yeah, we watched it. I don't remember doing the letter part, but we did. We
Oh,
did
it could have
definitely
just been
watch it.
my teacher was really like into the idea of like they're sending an educator into space. So she had some stuff to fill, and she had to was stuck with all these kids that weren't hers.
Yeah.
I remember somebody in my class started crying, which makes sense. And I don't, I like, there are those things where you don't know if it's like you thought this happened or you saw it in a movie and it's so long ago that your mind is mixing it up. But I want to say somebody in my class, I'm not going to say her name, Tammy, started crying. And I want to say our teacher was like, I know it's sad, Tammy, but you can't let something like this ruin your day. I feel like that happened, like, but I can't be sure, right? Because it's so long ago. And so much of that day is like, we're just pretending this didn't happen. Okay.
You could just be projecting that because it would have been so hilarious
I would
now
have
looking back if it did
it was
happen.
horrible at the time, but in the moment, now it's hilarious because, at the time it would have been. So it could be real, it could be imagination. I will never know because I don't talk to Tammy anymore because she's still a bitch. I take that back. She said something. She was having some health issues and all of her teeth fell out. And I did say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," on Facebook.
Poor Tammy.
Poor Tammy. Poor
Toothless Tammy.
Right. All I could think about when it was happening was all the time she was mean to me in school and I wished horrible things on her. And having that moment of like, this is what you wished for. Like,
She never bit you, did she?
she did not. She never bit.
That would have been poetic justice.
That would have been so good. Like, that would have been perfect. No, she's just mouthy and rude and my good. Oh, I just lost my phone. I just lost the page, but we can fix that. Oh, we're at the 2-hour mark.
Are we already?
Right. We are already at 2 hours. So,
oh,
but
wow.
really quick, I'm gonna at least get my page back up. I knew we were getting close. And then, of course, because I didn't fully charge the phone, because I suck today. But it is, we're at almost 2 hours, so I should be letting you go anyway.
Don't seem like it has been that long.
Yeah, that's the fun thing. That's why I like having people on to do this. Because once you get going and you get talking, it just flies by.
Yeah, and I'm like,
all right,
I feel like I haven't colored. I've only colored like half of this.
I got a lot farther than I thought. Turn that volume down.
But not doing this very frequently, and the motions and gripping the pencil and trying to blend and figure out how you want to do it. Like, yeah, it's goes by really quick when you're sitting here contemplating what you want to do, and oh, that's not coming out right, let me try this.
So I'm not sure. I was not paying that close attention to the screen, so I don't know where it tapped out, but that's where I got. All right, so I'm gonna put you up real quick. Solo layout.
All right.
That's pretty good. Like, you got pretty far.
Yeah, I didn't. I was too scared to make anything too dark. I didn't want to, because I always figure I could go back over it. So
exactly, yeah, and that's a valid technique. Some people. Just a second. There we go.
And there's the Care Bear.
Oh, he looks really good. Yeah. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, really quickly. And then just set that aside and we'll figure out when to have you back and do the rest of it.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the Motu one. And we'll pick another one just in case.
Yeah.
And then
yeah,
that's where I got.
That looks good.
I got almost, I'm going to go back and do some water effects. But basically Lady J and the water effects. And then the shark teeth. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wanting to do a couple of them in red. Like
So,
he's taking a chunk out of somebody.
yep. So, all right, we'll exit that. All right. Really quick, and it looks like Black Phoenix jumped on, as did Quip. So, hello, everyone.
What's up?
Sorry, Darin and I just got preoccupied chatting and doing everything. Can happen sometimes. And then also we got the Trash Picture Show popped in. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for allowing Darin and I just to not pay attention to you guys and just color and chat. So I thank you. And on that note, we will go ahead and start wrapping up. Really quick, Darin, where can the people find you?
Over on my channel is 3-star Drawl, DRAWL for Southern Drawl. It's where all of my stuff is at. I've got this coming Wednesday, I will be on our show Backyard Battlefield. I do that with Krusty Old Crow up in Canada. I have a show every other week. I do one with him, and then the next week is one called Sevens Wild with my cousin Pop Blender. And we do it's kind of the same show, but with two different people. We do similar things, but different humor on both. So just enjoy hanging out with my cousin and one of my good friends, and then somewhere in between I'll be in the chats and streams, and if I get any toys in to do a review and a video, I'll be throwing them up too. So that's what I'm doing.
Excellent. And thank you again. It was fun to have you. Yeah,
had a good time.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and then for me, I would look on my phone, but I didn't charge it, and the backup phone is showing you the lovely shark. So from memory, tomorrow I have a video dropping where I test. Well, the test is already done because obviously I filmed and edited the video. But I got this set. My brother sent this to me for Christmas. So I tested this out. So there's a video with a couple pages to see what I thought. And I talk a little bit about the price for it. So for anyone who enjoys when I do the color pencil testing videos, that's this. Wednesday, I should have a new Villain Obscura dropping, which is more celebrating of She-Ra. If I can get it edited today and tomorrow. Next Friday, there will be a Care Bear color and show. I'm dropping on Friday, and then next Saturday, G.I. Joe booklet for 1983 has been created and will be ready to go. So. And then next Sunday, I'll be here with Andrew from Gady's Toys, and we'll be coloring DC style guide pages that I've made. So always too much, but hey, if I don't overachieve, what can I do? Hey, better late than never, Todd. Unless it's the electric chair and you're about to save somebody from the electric chair, then late is probably not good. But in this case, it is. So, yeah. So that's what I've got, and Darin has. And thank you again, Darin. It's been so much fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I had a really good time.
Yeah, and one last time, just so that nobody forgets, Moby is trash. All right. Thank you, everyone. We will see you again next time. Alice and Joy, Retro Toy Princess, out.